What is up, fight fans? I am Jason Burgos from MixedMartialArts.com, and I had the ultra rare opportunity to speak with a truly elite mover and shaker in this MMA business of ours. He's a lifelong martial artist, television host, an international man of mystery, and of course, the CEO of the one and only One Championship. He is the one and only Chatri Sityodtong. Chatri, good sir, thank you so much for the time today.
Hey, Jason, man, thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure talking to you.
Okay, so before we get into fight news related questions and stuff like that, I wanted to ask about this recent Nielsen report on fan engagement for sports properties in 2020. In this report covering like the biggest sports leagues, brands around the world, One Championship came out looking very good, was neck and neck with the UFC, and in certain categories that they did, One Championship was even higher than the UFC. However, like a regular fan will look at this stats, analytics, they'll look at it like geometry, and they'll be like, I don't understand what this is. What does this mean? So explain like why this matters to me, to fans that watch us. What is important about these stats in this report, and why should they matter to them?
Well, obviously, Nielsen is the world's leading authority when it comes to viewership numbers across all platforms, whether it's TV or digital, social, etc. And what's clear from this industry report of the biggest sports properties in the world in terms of viewership and engagement and metrics is that the global combat sports industry has essentially formed into a global duopoly. UFC and One are the only top 10 players, and with the likes of an NBA, NFL, English Premier League, Champions League, all the biggest sports properties. And if you look at the viewership numbers and across all platforms, across TV, social, digital, etc., you can see that UFC and One are literally 10 to 20 times bigger than the other incumbent players in the US that are widely regarded as big, but they're actually very small on the global stage, right? And here's the thing. I think American fans don't realize how big One is. And so it's great for people to see this because, the MMA media in America obviously cover UFC, which is the giant in America.
Yeah.
But there's 4.5 billion people out here in Asia, and we're the giant over here. And so what's become very clear from that Nielsen industry report is that the world has become a global duopoly when it comes to combat sports. UFC and One are roughly equal size. Some things UFC is bigger than us, some things we're bigger than UFC. But that report is, downloadable by all the fans around the world on Nielsen's website, actually, Nielsen Sports. It's just, I was pleasantly surprised that we were ranked that high in the top 10. I knew that we were growing very quickly. I could see our stats. I get our stats every week, right? So I could tell our TV ratings, our viewership numbers. I could see our online metrics. I could see our digital social metrics explode, exponentially the last several years. And it's just one of those things that the American MMA media doesn't cover us because we don't have live events on ground in the US, or we're not in primetime US. But I think those things will change. So, I'm grateful to Nielsen, and I'm glad that the truth is finally out because there's just a lot of noise yeah, there's just a lot of noise. And so it's become very clear that UFC has called it 89% market share of the Western Hemisphere. We have called it 90% market share of the Eastern Hemisphere. And we are the two giants. Literally, our viewership numbers are 10 to 20x bigger than that of the rest of the players in the industry.
Do you think, and honestly, is it frustrating in a way that there's kind of this misconception, a misunderstanding? Because American fans, media, this has always been like this entertainment global hub of the world. But do you think this is? I've been seeing with like Combate and Campbell McLaren, his frustrations and the lack of media covering them, and how their ratings have gone up and stuff like that because they cater to a Spanish speaking audience, which some of these media may not appreciate. And as you see, China's economy, India's economy over the last couple decades have grown to the level of the U.S. Do you think this is a frustrating misconception of that? Oh, okay, if you're not getting huge ratings here, you're not really registering to U.S. fans, not understanding there's a humongous fan base everywhere that are watching it, and
Yeah,
this is vindication. This Nielsen report.
yeah, yeah. I mean, definitely. I think there's a lot of noise and chatter in the U.S. and obviously there is a large fan base for mixed martial arts in the U.S. But the UFC is head and shoulders above everybody in the US, all the other players. And if you look at the global stage, right, from a purely sports media industry perspective, the two giants are you can't dispute it. It's one and UFC, and we're about the same size
Mm.
when it comes to viewership and engagement numbers and fan numbers. Everyone else is literally 10 to 20x. I mean, we're 10 to 20x bigger than all those other players that you talk about or the fans talk about typically. But here's the thing: I truly believe, as a lifelong martial artist, that our roster, especially in the lighter weight divisions, is the best in the world.
Mm.
I would definitely say that UFC has the edge in the heavyweight divisions. They've just been at it for longer.
Yeah.
We are beefing up our heavyweight division, our heavyweight, light heavyweight, middleweight divisions. But in the lighter weight divisions, from lightweight onward down, our champions can go head to head with any champion in the world. And again, I would put, you know, the industry now at two truly global giants as a global duopoly. I respect Bellator. I respect the other players, but they're just not. The truth is, I guess the Nielsen report showed the truth.
Yeah. Now, for fight news specific one championship sport stuff. First, the next question is, since it's relatively fresh, is Kyoji Horiguchi very short stay in free agency before Bellator signed, and he's kind of also has still with Ryzen in this deal. Did one championship get in contact with his reps at all about his interest in one, or it never really got that far?
No, by the time Bellator announced, yeah, we just started to reach out, and Bellator announced. So it was not. I think when he announced his free agency, he was a free agent for a day.
Yeah.
So I don't think. No, I think he'd already signed his. I mean, that evening he signed his documents with Bellator. Obviously, I would have loved to have had the chance to have talked to Horiguchi, and we definitely would have outbid Bellator for sure. So I think he probably made an economic. He didn't make the most optimal economic decision for his fight career, but I understand it because Risen and Bellator are very close, and it is what it is.
Now, for something that's super relevant, because happened yesterday, Vitor Belfort, he fights in for Triller yesterday, beats Evander Holyfield. Would you say that was it tough negotiations to find, maybe bad luck negotiations with booking a fight? Obviously, the pandemic, were those the major causes of why while he signed with one in 2019, never was able to compete in the promotion in that time?
Yeah, I mean, Vitor and he said it even during a media week for his Triller fight, that MMA is a young man's sport, and so yes, Vitor won a specific type of opponent. We at One are about getting the very, very best athletes in the world, all martial arts from all over the world, elite of the elite, the best of the best.
Yeah.
And I have a great relationship with Vitor. I actually just wished him good luck before the fight. Actually, this is before, when he was fighting De La Hoya. I wished him good luck, and then obviously Evander Holyfield.
Yeah.
Yeah, he and I have a great relationship, and it's very possible that we'll end up working together in the future. But just in the interim, every opponent we gave him, his management and he didn't feel comfortable with, and vice versa. Every opponent they gave us, we just we didn't see eye to eye. So, I think the right thing for him and the right thing for One was to, let him go his merry way. And I'm very happy for Vitor's success. Obviously, beating Evander Holyfield in one round is spectacular. And there is a potential $30 million fight with, Jake Paul now.
Yeah.
And that could be a very fun fight as well. So I'm happy for Vitor.
Unfortunately, it seems like they're just cross promotion and MMA is really difficult. I should understand his contracts and those kind of thing. But especially now that we're in this era where we're seeing this more boxing MMA crossover, would One be interested in, say, working with Triller, working with Bare Knuckle? Having someone like exciting like Rotang, appear in Bare Knuckle, and some of them, they got MMA people that will come. Since it seems like they can't be working relationships in MMA cross promotion, would One be interested in kind of like a boxing cross promotion with those kind of promotions?
Right. So how I think about these kind of things is it has to be win-win. Whatever partner you choose has to have, gain equal benefits from it. And right now, as the Nielsen industry report shows, it's just One is dominant in Asia, UFC is dominant in Western Hemisphere, and you know, if we did a mega global event of ONE versus UFC, I think the whole world would watch. Okay, genuinely, because we bring our fan base and they bring their fan base. But for any other organization, again, we're 10 to 20x bigger than them, and it just from a pure business perspective, you know, you want to always create win-win situations, and so you know, I have a lot of respect for all the other organizations, but again, I mean, even if you just look at the social media metrics, right? I mean,
Yeah.
just take a look at Facebook. I think UFC is at 37 million. We're at 31 million fans. And then a big drop off to Bellator, which is I think at 2 million. And the others are like a million, right? And then even below that. So it's like there isn't a good business rationale for us to do that with other organizations. But you know, never say never. I'm definitely open-minded, and again, like I said, I have a lot of respect for all the players in the global MMA industry. But you know, it is very clear now that there's a global duopoly, both in quality of roster as well as in size of global fan base and size of viewership numbers and engagement numbers. And you know, these numbers are obviously, I mean, they are what they are.
Yeah. Going back to the roster free agency, it seems like there's been a little bit of a strategic switch a little bit in one that couple of years ago, 2018, 2019, one was scooping up a lot of big names and adding big stars to the roster, and it's kind of gone away from that. And not to say this is not big names, but one seems to be adding names that they can develop. Rug Rug, Buchecha, Gordon Ryan, names that have value, but they can come there, start there, and build up from there. Has there been a kind of maybe a strategic switch within the organization? Like, look, if we're going to invest kind of big money, we want to invest with somebody that's, you know, we can really build up, make a face, instead of maybe investing in an older star, a bigger name, maybe more difficult to deal with. For example, Vitor was tough to get a fight. Has there been a strategic switch in free agency?
No, I think globally, our scouts and our competition team, we're always looking for the very, very best athletes in the world, whether they're rising stars, whether they're, you know, rookies, or whether they are established stars. We want the best pound for pound athletes in every weight division. Like I said, I think UFC and ONE has the two best rosters on the planet. I think we're stronger than UFC on the lighter weight classes, and they're stronger than us on the heavyweight classes, you know, in terms of edging each other out. And we're always on the hunt. Of course, we have to be strategic. And the reality is, look, all the big stars in UFC that we recruited all end up getting knocked out. So obviously, from a return on investment perspective, it didn't pan out the way we thought. I mean, even DJ at the prime of his career gets knocked out. Eddie Alvarez gets knocked out. Sage Northcutt gets knocked out. Yushin Okami gets knocked out. You know, I mean, the list goes on. And so we just thought, like, look, we're paying these big dollars, and it's just not panning out the way we we would like. You know, we want to build these stars. And don't get me wrong, I still love DJ. I believe in him. I believe he is the GOAT of all time, pound for pound GOAT. No one has ever come close to even his number of title defenses or even his technical ability. If you just, again, strip away all the politics of what a GOAT is, you just look from as a pure martial artist, and you say, look at the skills, pound for pound. I mean, DJ is the GOAT. There's no question. You know, I mean, his striking, his wrestling, his submission grappling, his athleticism, his balance, his explosiveness, his speed, his power, at flyweight, he's the GOAT. And Eddie Alvarez, I have a lot of respect for Eddie as well. I mean, you know, when he left the UFC, I think he was number 4, number 3 ranked UFC lightweight at the time. And obviously, you know, he is one of the very few people that have won both a UFC and Bellator world title. And he's going for his 3rd world title here in ONE. I'd love to make that fight happen, Christian Lee and Eddie Alvarez. But Eddie has to, you know, get off the losing streak and start winning in ONE, right? So we're definitely open to all free agents. And again, like I think it's no secret that we pay top dollar for free agents, and you know, we're always in discussions, and we got to find the right fit and the right personality and character type, and that we can build and we believe resonates with our fans, on the global stage.
What's the latest with the TNT deal? I loved seeing one consecutive weeks on TNT in April. It felt like it built up a lot of good momentum and stuff like that. But since then, the promotion hasn't had new live content on the network. Like Bleacher Report, I respect, but I feel like it's not reaching enough North American fans and stuff like that, connecting with enough North American fans. So it feels like that momentum has been lost. You know, will ONE be on TNT again anytime soon, or maybe even another network? in the U.S.?
So what I can say is since July, CAA, who represents One in the U.S.,
Okay.
has taken us on a U.S. media rights roadshow. We've met with every major broadcaster, network, and digital players, et cetera, and obviously Turner being one of them. Our rights are actually up in the U.S. Year end, and so we're actually now in discussion with all the major broadcasters, networks, terrestrial as well as paid TV, as well as linear paid TV, as well as digital players.
Mm.
And knock on wood, we have something really exciting to announce in the coming weeks. It's the reason why we also, I don't know if you saw the news, several weeks ago we brought on David Levy, who was the former president of Turner. He was the founding president of Turner, basically launched Turner Sports 33 years ago, and was responsible for $9 billion in revenue, 6,000 employees. He's joined our board of directors at the global level.
Okay.
He's helping to craft our U.S. strategy and execution plan as we speak, and he's been on the roadshow with me in terms of meeting with all the broadcasters. So that's all I can say right now, is that it's really exciting times for One. Yeah, we kicked it off, I think, sorry, it was July or June or July, we kicked off the U.S. Media Rights Roadshow. And so we are in the middle of discussions with multiple players.
And that's good to hear, because if TNT doesn't respect the product, which I think can easily connect with fans as long as it's on TV consistently, then it should go somewhere else. So suffice to say, unless TNT agrees with for a new deal in this time, we won't see One on U.S. primetime airways through the rest of 2021, and we may have to wait
Oh,
till
no, no,
2022.
no. I can't say that. It's not that TNT and One are not seeing eye to eye. That's not the case at all. It's, again, typically with these media right partnerships, the way things work is several months before expiration, you go out on the road.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, for us to go out on the road and have a U.S. road show, we want to meet with everybody.
Right.
And our experiment in April was successful. We were the #2 combat sports for the month of April. In the U.S., I think we're the 5th most watched sports property for that month, of April. And Turner was happy with our results, and David Levy, the former president, said our numbers were outstanding given that TNT is primarily entertainment and targeting females. The fact that we were #2 in combat sports, he was pleasantly surprised, and you should speak to him about it. But yeah, I mean, it is just a very interesting time for One as we talk to all the major broadcasters in the U.S. We do have big plans for the U.S. And again, COVID did throw a monkey in the wrench, clearly, for all global sports properties around the world. And it obviously put a pause button on our U.S. plans. But we will be coming to the U.S. in a big way in 2022.
In the summer, bantamweight champion Bibiano Fernandes went public, frustration, feeling he can't communicate with the organization. He hasn't fought in almost 2 years. Maybe wondering if he's in the doghouse with you and stuff like that. What's the latest with him? Are we going to see him soon? Is a fight with John Lineker possible? Is a fight with Adriano Moraes, a super fight between the divisions, possible? Are we going to see Bibiano maybe before 2021 ends?
Yes. So I had a Zoom call with Bibiano on Friday, so 2 days ago.
Okay.
And it went well, and we came to agreement. And so he's happily signing his new contract, and he's going to be fighting later this year. I don't want to announce a date, but a lot of I think 2 names have come up primarily for Bibiano. I can tell you it's one of the 2 names that everyone's been talking about.
All right, good. Edward Foliang, one of the faces of One in the Philippines for the organization for a long time. I love Edward, wonderful guy, but in a tough spot. Lost 4 straight, 6 of his last 7. I feel like his best MMA days are behind him, but he still has a lot of value. Has there been any internal thought within One about his value and maybe switching him, because you guys can do this, to have Edward maybe be in kickboxing, maybe be in Muay Thai? Has there any been thoughts of that?
I always try to look at athletes objectively, and how has Edward lost his fights, right? It's primarily when people take him down on the ground.
Exactly, yeah.
and his jiu-jitsu is just not there. But if you look at his cardio, his chin, his heart, his desire, his love of the game, his technical skills, his wushu and his takedown defense, he's still outstanding. I think the level of competition has just risen,
Yeah.
and they're more well-rounded athletes in the lightweight division. And Edward, just his progress on the ground is not kept up with the rest of the division. That's what I see. At the same time, though, I wouldn't count Edward out. He still wants it badly. He really, really believes that he can be world champion again, and that's his goal. And he has had a rough run, definitely. Yeah, it's very possible we put him in kickboxing or Muay Thai or something. I mean, it's very possible. I mean, I haven't had those talks with him because he still is gung ho about. Again, his dream is to capture the lightweight world title for a third time, and then retire on his terms. But the fire burns with him. I mean, he trains just as hard. I talked to Mark Sangiao, who's a good buddy, good friend of mine, his coach. And Mark says that Edward's fitter than ever and trains like a madman. And as long as your fire is there, and he hasn't taken enormous damage over his career. I mean, he's been knocked out a couple of times, but once out cold. But he's really, or maybe twice out cold. But he hasn't taken a lot of damage in terms of getting knocked around and taking a lot of hard shots, just because his style his wushu style is very fast and elusive. But yeah, of course, it has crossed my mind. But I try to gauge it objectively rather than just look at the fact that he lost 4 times. I look at how did he lose and how close were those fights. Was he annihilated? Was he slow and did he have no cardio? No, he was fast. He had cardio. He had heart. He was right there.
Yeah.
But he just didn't have the jiu-jitsu skills needed at the time.
I've heard rumblings of maybe one in Hawaii, and I asked the Lees when I talked to him recently about it. I've heard stuff about Colorado was willing to do one international rules for an event. When we talked a few years back, you mentioned New York. Are we any closer to a U.S. event? Is there one location that's more likely than the other? And is that a plan, hopefully, best case scenario for 2022?
So I can say that a few states have approved the global rule set. And our team in the U.S. has done a phenomenal job. So Rich Franklin and Matt Hume and a few others have, met with athletic commissions and gotten the blessing. So that's all I can say right now. I don't want to commit to where we are going to have our events. Again, our U.S. media rights broadcast discussions are going on right now with multiple partners. So I think I got to see how it all shakes out. But yeah, I mean, I think it's the worst kept secret. We are coming to the U.S. We're coming to the U.S. In a big way, and we've been planning this for a while. It's just COVID hit, and so assuming that COVID is stable or better or improves rather into 2022, you will see a very big push by ONE into the U.S.
In those early days of ONE, there was those key faces that helped bring up the brand of Bibiano, Fernandes as an example, Edward Foliang, stuff like that. It feels like Christian Lee's the next guy. Like, only 23, been since he moved to lightweight, been phenomenal. As a champion, has been phenomenal. Do you feel like there's a huge potential in him, and of course, and his sister too, both sisters, that he can be kind of that next face of ONE, transitioning maybe from Ong La and Song and stuff like that? And also, can he be an important part of bridging the gap because of his U.S. ties, because he's in Hawaii, to further ONE's goals of growth in the U.S.?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I really love Christian, and he signed with ONE when he was 17 years old, had his debut, and just to see him blossom, his skill set is genuinely pound for pound, up there with the greatest right now currently. He can take out any lightweight anywhere on the planet. Like he's and there's obviously a lot of gym wars that we all hear about, and in the martial arts industry. So he has taken out in the gym many top level athletes and champions from other organizations, from the other 2 big organizations, global organizations. So we know his skill set, and just again, objectively looking at the lifelong martial arts, looking at his skill set, he's truly world class, and he's only 23. Like I think in in a few years, he's just going to come into his own. So I think he's still at the very early stage of his career. Yes, his skill set is pound for pound up there amongst the best in the world, but he's just getting started. So I think his popularity is going to explode over the next few years. I think his skill set's going to explode over the next few years, and the sky's the limit for him.
Okay, so let's wrap this up with like a quick lightning round. You can just give me a yes or no. If you want to elaborate any more, you're welcome to. Appreciate all the time so far. First question: is Renier de Ridder going for a third title in a division in 2021 or in his next fight, or is he going to go defend one of the two he already has?
No, he's going to defend one of the two he already has. Yeah.
Will Tan Lee and Gary Tunnen happen in 2021?
Yes. So that fight has been offered and accepted. I just haven't announced it yet, and I haven't announced the date. So I guess you're the first to get it. The fight is officially on. Both have accepted the date and the venue, and I believe they've signed as well. So I think I will announce it.
Awesome. Will we see Demetrious Johnson again in 2021?
Yes. DJ is already signed for his next fight. His opponent is also signed. I just haven't announced it. I'm actually announcing it later this week. My team has promised Ariel Helwani that we will break some news with him. So I think that our PR team gives breaking news to different outlets, and so this time it's going to be with Ariel Helwani. But Jason, we love you as well. So next time you'll get a big break. A big breaking news. So,
help brother out, Chatri, please.
Yeah, definitely, Jason. But this time, I think that I guess my team had just promised Ariel, and obviously he's launched his new show, or relaunched his old show rather. So we said, okay, we would break some news up with him this week.
And last question: who has more global breakout star potential in terms of new rising stars, or maybe stars that are finally hitting the radar? Tan Lee, Arjun Buller, or Rodtang?
Well, if you just look at pure video views and TV rating stats, I mean, Rodtang is by far more viral than Arjun Buller or Tan Lee is. But I also think it's because he's also more active as well. But I think he has a style that's really exciting. He's obviously a KO artist. I think his personality, the fact that he's fearless and he's willing to just stand there in the pocket and smile and let people take shots at him. Literally, right? Tell him, throw your best right hand in my chin and see if you can do it. And he's crazy stuff. He's very charismatic. So if you think about, all the elements, he's obviously a world champion striker out of Thailand, world's best in Muay Thai. But he brings such a fascinating dimension because he's outgoing, he's charismatic, and his fighting style is just so exciting. He's just one of these guys that walks forwards, pumps his chest and points to his chin and lets his opponent tag him. I mean, it's crazy. So he has all the elements. So I think Rodtang is definitely one of the future big global stars of ONE, as long as he continues. He's also very young. He's only 23, I believe, as well.